Hey, Al, thanks for joining. Hey there, Ray. Oh my goodness. I just got off the phone nonstop, like 3 hours.
Oh my God. I'm
So
ready to talk some more.
I have my regular schedule and I don't want to, there's some people that need to talk to me. So I say, well, just call me, 4:55. Uh,
And they do.
yeah. All right, though. It's all right. Very interesting scenarios today.
Mm.
But what was I going to talk about? So I was thinking it'd be interesting to talk about the news and what the prospects of the IRS being around.
I know.
That one.
So you're brave, you better jump on it.
All right.
Oh,
So
you're
thanks everyone for
muted.
joining and we're getting started it's March 13th. Isn't there like St. Patty's Day coming up?
Or eyes and words.
Something like that. Yep. So March 13th and um so a lot of this, so we have this Thursday call every evening and we're talking about the subject of what's on aceofcoins.com, aceofcoins.club. I talk about the tax uh federal income taxes and also administrative things dealing with state income taxes, cryptos and investments, cash flow, business, entrepreneurship. We have these subjects that we deal with on easements, HOA liens, ways to use them. We talk a little bit about privacy, which is kind of gone. You got to look at it differently, but I have people putting liens on their biometric data. That's kind of interesting. And so today I thought it'd be interesting to talk about the cryptos. That's a big deal. And as you know, we've had these discussions on the Go Baby Trader. That's pretty cool. Good stuff there. And I can't believe that guy's been doing that since 1989. It's pretty amazing. So, but tonight, so we talk about that. And the news lately is where we see the president talking about, he's dialing back a lot of these agencies, a lot of the regulations, as you can see, like with the current Corporate Transparency Act. That ends the issue, doesn't it? Where he says, you know what? These regs aren't going to be imposed on anybody. And so the CTA is publishing these news releases saying, yeah, we're just not going to impose the penalties on anybody. Well, you couldn't do it before, but okay. All
Trying
right.
to pretend they still have enforcement power.
Hey, Jim. Glad you made it, Jim. Did you get a chance to go to the beaches yet? Can't talk about it. All right. So I don't know. I mean, think about it like this. The United States needs accounting. So we use the Internal Revenue Service to do the accounting. The thing we don't like about it, as you've heard me say before, is that it has the police power. I was just telling somebody a few minutes ago, I said, why doesn't the president or whomever, why don't they have this initiative where Congress or the branch, the executive branch says to the IRS, we're waiving your immunity. Woo! That's fair game, right? You waive the IRS immunity and its agents immunity and watch how they behave after that.
They'd straighten up and fly right.
Oh, nice. And have the FBI start looking into these matters where, they're trying to collect more taxes than are owed. What was that? I forget that section, like 7214, I think it was. 26
Yeah.
USC 7214. Yeah. That was really effective. My first case ever in the early 90s. I was able to get the guy's property back. They took his farm. And it was the only case I used it. It was my first case, and I didn't know what to do after paperwork, tons of paperwork. And I looked at it, one day I just looked at it and I was like, wait a minute, the FBI is supposed to look into this stuff. It's like the Inspector General's office, So I made a referral to the FBI, and next thing I know, the guy's property got returned. It took about maybe a couple of months, and they had taken all the cars off his farm, his equipment, his money. They were going to take his farm and sell it. This guy had built that thing from like for 35 years. Actually went to his house in Missouri and stayed there a couple of times. And that's what I used to do. I used to literally go to the client's place. I would go stay in his town or at his place or whatever, and I would work with them until the problem was solved. And it's not efficient to do that. So, but I learned so much back then. But when it comes to the IRS and what they're talking about, sure, we can dial back some of what the IRS is doing, but if we were to waive its immunity, or maybe make it to where in the levy process under 26 USC 6331, maybe if we were to modify that and let them have all their power, it's just that make them go through the court system first for certain amounts of money. So if the IRS says you owe more than $100,000, for example, and I just made up that number, that it would have to go through the U.S. District Court. People think, oh, well, I don't want to be sued, but think about it like this. If you go through the U.S. District Court, the debt that the government wants to collect is now subject to a burden of proof, and you now have access to the federal rules of civil procedure. So I'm saying all this because in light of the news, these are things that are going through my head. I'm thinking, okay, so if you get rid of the IRS, you still have this need for accounting. Somebody still has to do the accounting. What you may want to end up doing is maybe reduce or disempower the police function of the IRS, and or maybe have some waivers of immunity in different aspects of what it's doing. That may be a way to go, but I think realistically in the future, we're still going to have some accounting function. There's still going to be that need to go out into the community and take property that's owed to the United States. And for most of us, it's abusive. For most people, when the IRS interacts with us on that level, it's unnecessary, and they're treating us like corporations, like you would a corporation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree with you, John. It needs to go through the court system because what they do, like even on the notice of tax lien, is being recorded as a perfected lien with a judgment in the counties. And it's only a statutory regulatory makeup. And then half of it,
Yeah.
what needs to be corrected is half of what they're doing to everybody that doesn't go along to get along, is they're using excise tax statutes for income tax because there are none.
Yeah.
There are no mandated.
There should be an assessment. They should have
Yeah.
to, in the lien, even if they just want to do a notice of lien, there should be criteria where it's not a valid lien until there's an assessment that's included with it.
Right.
And that means somebody at the IRS is liable for saying you owe money. Right now, it's just a computer system. So there are some, things that can happen. I don't know if they're going to get rid of it, but even if the IRS is gone, they would call the accounting function something else. What do you think, Elaine?
Same
What's
way with a
going to
levy.
happen?
What's
What's
that?
going to happen? What?
What do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
What's going to happen is that the IRS is going to be abolished because they're going to do everything through tariffs. And the only property that they're going to be able to take will be for criminal activity, which there may be quite a lot of with what's
That would be
going on now.
plausible. That is plausible. I mean,
That is what he's been saying over and over and over.
you
And
get rid of all the debt, the
what?
spending, and you equalize all the trades.
Yeah,
you
and
may
the
not need-
money laundering, that's where they're saying the money is going is not where the money is going.
Sure.
That's where the criminal activity and treason is going to come in. There will be
Okay.
there will be military.
Elaine's pretty rough. Treason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
right.
it's going to fund Hamas and ISIS
Yeah.
and
No,
all
that's
this
dangerous.
other shit. I mean, that we are not going to have an internal revenue service. I
Yeah,
mean,
for
just
many years
today,
I've been saying the government's the biggest money launderer on the planet. And
absolutely
say-
is. Also the biggest child trafficker,
Yeah.
Probably.
Child Protective Services.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they or the Red Cross is worse,
Right.
or the Clinton
Yeah.
Foundation.
These are the players, but it's either the government's the biggest money launderer or the US dollar is the most popular used currency in money laundering. So, and your casinos too. Your casinos, I don't think they're doing anything illegal, but I just think the casinos, I mean, they're a world unto themselves. The casinos are their own financial system. They kind of happen. It's quite interesting if you ever look at how casinos operate. It's probably the most secure place on earth for not only money, but for data. Very interesting. So, but yeah, I mean, I didn't want to go into too many technical things, but so we're seeing this come up in the news. A lot of these things that we've been talking about for years, now we're seeing that people in office are actually talking about it. So let me see here. Moko, do you want to look at the chats? I have
Yeah.
a difficult time following.
Sure.
So,
Just, comments like US needs to update the criminal corporate liability laws to something closer like they have in Poland.
what is in Poland?
Yeah, I know. I was like, that's a comment, but we don't
Oh,
necessarily
okay.
mean- Yeah.
Well, Jeff is saying about the mass surveillance and the cameras. I mean, we could talk about that too. You can have countermeasures, but this is a problem that may be addressed through funding, right? I mean, this is public funds, and there's some money that's coming into our different budgets that is not coming from taxpayers. So that probably be like item number one when it comes to mass surveillance with video cameras. I mean, if you
Mhm.
look at China as the model for this. And so if you're looking at like in China, you can't use cash anywhere. No one, they'll think you're crazy if you try to use cash or something. And it's to a
Probably
point
arrest you.
where there's like so many cameras per person, like 400 cameras per person. And if you jaywalk, no police officer gets involved. Your image is taken and immediately published on a big screen on the street where you were jaywalking with a message saying this person was jaywalking. And then it affects your driver's license, just walking. Your bank account is connected into your ID so that you can just be fined and the money's taken from your account. All these things are going on right now in China, and many of these systems have been tested all over the world for many years. And China is a great place to do that because it's a dictatorship. Even though it's probably a pretty good form of capitalism, the way it operates, it is a dictatorship. It's run by a dynasty. So they can get away with these things and just realize that when you see it in China, the intention is to bring it here. So while we might be talking about what's going to happen with the IRS, I think the biggest problem we're going to be facing is not the IRS. I think it's data surveillance. I think it's just surveillance data. It's our whatever, our behavioral data. It's how we interact for goods and services that we need in our daily lives, I think is what's going on.
Well, someone was saying that with all the transactions being tracked by the crypto ledger, he suggested they don't need the IRS because you can be shut down and your funds seized
Yeah.
immediately.
It's already established. This is already operating in China.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I don't know that you need the blockchain for that, but it would make it a heck of a lot easier. And I don't know where the accountability is at that point. It's not gonna be built that way with accountability. So I mean, look at what's happened already with using the court system for political persecution,
Mhm. Mhm.
censorship, so and also when you get all the people into social media, which that took about what, 20 years to develop. And then once everybody's relying on it, then you start facing censorship
Yeah.
in a forum that you need to use. Where
Right.
before
Right.
it
Right.
was the
Right.
public square, you can go outside and start shouting, right? But now it's all electronic on these social platforms, which are antisocial, really. So yeah,
Mhm. That's right.
yeah, I think so.
Someone's wondering if you could talk about public banks, like the Bank
Look,
of North Dakota.
yeah,
I'm
there's
not sure
one that
what.
I know of, Bank of North Dakota. It's owned by the state. I don't know. I mean, I I kind of like that idea.
Hmm.
I kind of like that idea. Why? Well, it has more accountability. It's public funds. So I'm not sure. Is there like what, is this a trend? Because why is it the only bank?
Follow-up question.
We
Yeah,
have
why?
to get rid of the reserve part of where you're only carrying like 2% of the amount of money you say you're loaning. That's what's got to go. And that has been already stated by I think it was Lutnick. I can't remember, Howard Lutnick. I
Well,
forget what
there's many
his
things we
name
can
was.
talk about. I mean, I don't know about, Alex talking about Musk as a technocrat. I don't even know what that means. I like what he's doing. I think it's cool. I think it's great. I wonder how he has time for all that stuff.
Right.
But
What do you think is the best solution to move forward with transacting? That's another question.
well, continue acting in your own interest. Just realize that, you don't have to do what you're told all the time. You don't have to get pushed around. And we deal with this like with the KYC as one little example. Now, I have a video and it's in my series now and I can develop it more, but I was showing you how to do, if you're working with some people or you can organize this, you can have a 5-owner LLC, that gives you a little more standing. You can have an LLC, you can hire an attorney to represent your LLC and go open a bank account and do some things. If we start using LLCs that way, yeah, it costs a little more money, but we wouldn't have all these problems. I think we'd have more respect.
Mm.
Start doing things like that way. The other thing is like my idea to where you take the articles and normally we're registering them. We're using the Secretary of State, the executive branch, to publish our articles, which makes them valid because that's what a company is. You have to announce what the company's doing. That makes it a company.
Mhm.
All right.
Oh,
Because it affects people.
uh-huh.
Yeah. So why not, like we used to do, why not publish the articles in the newspaper? We could. The banks might open your account. maybe, I don't know. They're so used to seeing that rubber stamp from the Secretary of State. But what if we were to file something in the court and publish the articles in the court? We can either ask for a declaratory judgment on the articles, or we could just use the court to publish the articles, get a certified copy of those, and take those to the bank.
Mhm.
That goes around the
You-
Secretary of State, and it's still a valid company.
Would you do it, would you consider even going like to a court report, I mean, county recorder? No, they would only do certain
Well, the
categories.
court is access. It's a door.
Yeah,
County
yeah, it's a
recorder's
doorway
office.
into.
So you're
Mhm.
just going into a court where a judge is assigned to a
Mhm.
captioned proceeding, and the proceeding is simply asking the court to agree with the existence of the company. And it has all the information there to make that announcement and to go along with it and just say, yeah, that's a company. Or just file it. You don't need the judge's approval, just file it and use the county
Mhm.
court to make your record, get a certified copy, and then you can file in the county. So I don't know. What's this book patch, IRS creation? What is that? Yeah, well, okay, so we live in a feudal system. It's worldwide. I don't know any way around that. I don't know what, I mean, really, ultimately, there's not, what do we call that? The aspect of a feudal system is where people don't own anything.
Mm.
So then if I say that, then people say, but I have the right to sell my house. Okay, you do, but you're still paying tax on it. So do you really own it?
Mm.
Does the state own it? You know, there's all these aspects of a feudal system. I'm not going to say we should upend the feudal system. That's what we have. But I think we can look around. I mean, there's many people that make it work for them. They get rich off of it. So just realize what's going on there. But I know that when people file a tax return, this whole system has to be scrapped. But when people file a tax return, it's not actually filed because you can't file a tax return. The government has to agree to accept your return. And when it does, it affixes a document locator number to the tax return, whether it's digital or paper. And that's when it's filed. So it's an interesting system. It's archaic, really. I mean, it was
Mhm.
what? When was the 1040 instituted? Was that in 33? Or was that when in the beginning of the system? I don't remember.
Hmm.
I
Not
don't know.
sure.
Yeah.
That was in 40. I got one of the earliest 1040s ever created. It's called a victory tax.
Oh,
1040.
okay. So it was for the war. So that's how they brought
Yeah,
it in.
it's the
Mhm.
war.
40s.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Karen, what do you think?
I taught my kids, they're 18 and 25, not to file taxes. My 25-year-old daughter just got married and she filed her first joint tax return with her husband. But my son is 18 and he's open to these ideas. And so you're talking about tax returns. And what's the advice for somebody that doesn't file a 1040 and say they want to buy a house with with a mortgage and they're getting asked for 1040s? How
Okay.
do you deal in situations like that?
So for my children, they don't have SSNs, and I teach them all these things, as you can imagine. They do what they want, though. They do things I don't agree with, but they don't file tax returns. I don't think they'll ever do that. As long as they don't file tax returns, they're never gonna need to interact with the IRS. The IRS will never, they'll just ignore them.
Right,
No problem.
right.
So it doesn't matter how much money they make in their name, doesn't matter if they get a 1099, doesn't even matter if they get a job and get a W-2. It doesn't even matter if they have an SSN for that matter. But yeah, going forward, I would look at it that way. So if as soon as you file a tax return or you're joint filing or something, you're creating the presumption that you have to continue filing for the rest of your life. And so anytime you get a W-2 in your name, the IRS will want to know about it. Whereas if
Right.
you never filed, the W-2 is never going to matter to you.
Mhm.
So going
What
forward,
if, like, my son has a social security number, but he's not ever filed and he doesn't want to file. But what if he's in a situation where he wants to buy a house and get through a mortgage and he's getting asked for his tax
So
return?
the
How do
whole
you handle
system is
that?
designed to get you to file, okay? And there's a reason for that. I'm not going to get too far into that unless you want me to, but here's how we deal with it. And I've done this many times, and I got this information from real estate investors. And here's what they would do when the days when they were doing the no doc loans back in like 2004,
Mm.
they would create the tax return. Now, the tax return is a balance sheet. You can have a balance sheet done. It's a statement. It's an accounting statement. You can, in fact, you don't have to file a 1040. You can file a statement with the IRS if you want to in lieu of a 1040. The IRS will accept it. But the 1040 is an OMB approved document that is a balance sheet. So the banks want to see the balance sheet because the way the banks look at it is that you testified about your money to the government. They assume that's going to be truthful. So what you want to do is give the bank truthful data. You can use a 1040, but don't sign it and don't ever have filed it with the IRS. You can give it to the bank showing the income and showing that will be verified against the income you're disclosing, like on your bank statements. And from every time I've seen that, the bank accepts it. It doesn't need to be filed. So you want to make sure that you're not going to give the bank a 4506T so the bank can request your transcripts directly from the IRS. Don't do that. Just give them the 1040. And so, the issue is, and I don't know that it's ever come up, but is the bank involved with compelling you to file a tax return, or is it involved with underwriting a loan? It's not the bank's duty to get you to file a return. The bank is asking you for a return. It's asking you for your balance sheet for money it assumes you reported to the government. It's not saying you have to do that. So give it the information on the form it expects you to give. That's what I've found to work over the years. You can try that.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, the whole thing is socialist. I mean, there's nothing wrong with,
Smart.
I like capitalism and I like private property and all these things, but realize that there are big aspects of our society that involve socialism, one of which is the family. I mean, it works well that way. And it might be for small communities. The problem with worldwide or national scale socialism is you have, a small group of people that are exploiting everyone else. They have leverage over them. So we want to avoid things like that. People are motivated, they're encouraged by being rewarded with private property, acquiring property and wealth and this sort of thing. We want this in our society. It's what makes things go. What gives us the technology we enjoy, because someone's going to make a profit out of this stuff, A notice of intent to seize property. Do you have another question? I mean, okay, so you got a notice, they're going to seize property. What does that mean? Does that mean foreclose on like real estate, possibly? Heather? The banking abstract, okay, I can write a banking abstract for a 5-member LLC, but so can you. If you take the one I've given you, just make a few modifications. In fact, you could run it right to the Chat GPT. Take my abstract, give it that page, give it the Chat GPT, that one section. Give it there and say, this document I call a banking abstract. This is how I talk to the Chat GPT, the AI. It gives the role of one member of a limited liability company. It's disclosing the role of one member of a limited liability company. What I would like you to do is revise it so that it has a space for 5 members, and the AI will do it in 1 second for you. I mean, if you did it yourself, hey Heather, go ahead.
Hey, I was just gonna say that this notice that I got, it's from 2013, and they took a tax return of mine from in 2021 for like $2,000. This debt was like, I think $1,200 total. And I had entered into an agreement, an offer and compromise. And I still have the statement because I'm kind of one of those people that saves every document. So it says 2012, 2013, and 2013, and it was agreed. Now, it wasn't satisfied, but I have the transcript that shows that the debt was satisfied because they've taken money from my, yeah. So, but it's like every few years they just decide that they want to resurface this old debt that's already been paid. And so I've been watching the videos and everything. I haven't called the taxpayer advocate service yet or anything. I did schedule an appointment with my local IRS office because, I have the transcript. Basically what it shows on the transcript is that debt, it was zeroed out, and then I think it's a computer glitch, just restarted it a few years later all over again.
There may be a whole scheme where there's many people that's their experience. So maybe this is something where you bring to the advocate's office and copy Pam Bondi's office.
Yeah, the Inspector General for the Treasury will enforce that. And if you have your account, you're talking about your account transcript?
Now I would go to the advocate's office first.
Okay. I didn't even like, so when you say the advocate's office, that's meaning like my local IRS office, right? The local federal office.
Go look online for taxpayer advocate and you'll be given a list of locations. And I guess they
Oh,
want you to
okay.
pick one that's close to where you live. And then
Okay.
they'll route it and you'll get somebody will talk to you and then just say, look, I think someone's just entering numbers in the computer to keep this going forever. And I
Right.
already know that that's happening. So they might,
Right.
yeah.
And I have all these documents that prove that I don't have a debt, but the debt, that's the other thing, is it's so old, it's beyond 10 years, and they're supposed to drop the debt
Yeah,
anyways.
as long as you file, it'll expire the debt. So under 6502, it'll expire. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going in your favor there. You just got to talk to the right people. And that's what I found over the years is addressing, first of all, describing the problem and then addressing it to the right office. And the taxpayer advocate's really good for that. That's one
Okay.
thing, yeah, out of 97, when I watched the congressional hearings, I loved it when I think they were just trying to get favor with the voters, but they questioned the IRS and witnesses who they destroyed people. They caused a lot of people to be killed, like killed themselves. The IRS was sued for wrongful death many times because of the
Uh,
hardships they created. Yeah. And so all these stories came out. I had no idea it was so bad. And the Congress did not let the IRS defend itself.
really?
They just let everybody just rip on the IRS the whole time. And the IRS commissioner had to shut up and take it.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, then they wrote this new IRS Restructuring Reform Act, which has kind of helped us. That's why we have the Taxpayer Advocate's Office, that as things go. But this discussion, yeah, go ahead.
So I got it on the 10th. I have 21 days, or they're gonna go ahead and do whatever they're gonna do. And so like just to get an appointment with not the advocate office, I will call that tomorrow, but I can't even get in until after like mid-April. So do you think I should file an appeal first and then whenever this appointment
Yeah,
comes available?
cause
Okay,
delay.
yeah.
Cause delay, do whatever it says on the form. Usually it gives you an appeal process. Yeah, cause delay. Yeah. Get the
Okay.
advocate's office in there. And then I had the discussion group, but it got too far off course. So I just went and deleted it. I mean, I'm more than happy to do another one. But I just want to stay focused. I think someone else created one recently. But it's out there somewhere. And we can let's see. I'm sorry. I'll come better prepared next week and I can probably give you the invite. Some of y'all may know it. You're welcome to post it here if you want. I just did it because I figured some of you out there were wanting to talk about these subjects and not hear about all the political stuff, as exciting as it is, you know. Okay, so if you bought crypto from Coinbase, for example, and you're answering the question on your 1040 as to whether or not you made a purchase of crypto, understand what that means. A purchase of crypto is when you're taking your crypto coins, not dollars. You're taking your crypto coins and buying someone else's crypto coins. That's a purchase. And that's not a taxable event. It's just a purchase. And so if someone's asking you that question, like on a tax return, your answer is yes. But if you use dollars to fund your Coinbase account, that's not a purchase. It's not that important, but I mean, to be correct.
So John, you're saying that if you convert Bitcoin to USDC, that's considered a purchase from one crypto to another? Is that considered a purchase? Because that's really just a conversion, wouldn't it
Okay,
be?
that's another thing about Coinbase. If you're doing that on Coinbase, Coinbase owns all the coins. So
So you
once
don't
you
read
take your
it.
dollars and you buy Coinbase's coins, you're not actually buying the coins. You'll get them eventually, but all those coins are owned by Coinbase. So you're taking dollars and buying coin. Then if you're trading back and forth for other coins on Coinbase, you're just trading with the same owner. The owner is still Coinbase all the way. So there is no purchase at that point.
Mm. Okay, good point.
You know, this is the understanding that I just told you right now. That understanding is what I use to get the IRS to agree with me that cryptos are not taxable. They just said, yep. I mean, they're very cryptic about the response, but they don't like to give you like a huge, confirmation of something. They just go, yeah. Yeah, you got it.
They make an opinion letter.
I did that like, yeah, well, I used their form and I did what's called a request for determination letter. And I got almost 2 dozen of those. And then after a while, I started getting wacky responses like frivolous return penalties. And I think they were just deliberately routing to the wrong office. So what I started doing is sending my request for determination letter without my client's information. I would appear as his advocate and say, I would like a determination letter on this particular transaction, but I'm not going to give you my client's identifying information because every time I do, you send him a frivolous penalty. So I want you to process this correctly, and then I'll let you give him the information. I'll let you have his information. So that's how I do everything now. But, you know, and for many of them, I just don't do them because it's just like the 1099s from the debt collections. You don't have to include those in your 1040. There's no reason to keep getting the IRS to agree with you, agree with you, agree with you. Just stop doing it. It's done. Yeah, thanks for that, Johnny, on the big crypto. So this group here is what for? Oh, okay. Does it let everybody join?
Yeah, Janet's saying that she used the link and couldn't get in because she's not a member already. So is there?
Well, there's the link. I don't know. Maybe you have to be on Telegram or something. I don't know. I don't know. Sorry. But thanks for putting that link up.
Mhm.
All right. We'll figure it out. Okay. I don't like e-filing because there's a lot of data that goes with your electronic filing of anything, court records, government documents. I don't like those e-filing because it's just too much data. Maybe I'm paranoid. I prefer the mail. That's just my preference.
Mhm.
Do use the mail when you can. Never accept legal communications by email. Always make people serve process by mail and or process server.
Mhm.
You have every right. It's a default. In fact, that's the default in our society. But if you continue talking to somebody by email, then you're going to waive that, or they're going to assume you waived it.
Mhm.
Sometimes if I fix it for a client that's come to me and he's already been doing those things, he doesn't realize it, I have to actually make a written notice telling the other side, you're going to serve process at this mailing address and not by email. Then they, by law, they have to do it. Otherwise, it's not proper service and it's not valid. So yeah, I would stay. But also, e-file, what I find is that if you allow your accountant to prepare your return and then file, then you're betting on him doing that. And believe it or not, many accountants don't file. They forget or they just don't do it. And they charge you money. They do your accounting, maybe. Hopefully they do your accounting, but then they don't file it. Or maybe they don't know how to use the computer, or maybe the assistant in the office doesn't upload it correctly. And he thinks he did. So I just think to be prudent because the person doing your tax return is not liable at all, even though he signs as a preparer. So you're liable. So make sure that you deliver that tax return. I think that's just the best practice because I've seen problems that could have been averted simply because of that. CAF, I don't know.
Catherine Austin sits in
Oh.
Tennessee. She lives in Tennessee.
Yeah,
So she's affecting like banking stuff there, I think is what they're saying.
yeah. She's always promoting gold, but still she has good information. Yeah. Talking about getting assets offshore. Why? Why do you need to go offshore? Why? Did you know? You didn't read my article from years ago. My article was titled US Citizens Are Never Offshore. So let me just give you a quick example here. The IRS follows you anywhere in the world. So we understand that. So offshore is not a solution for most things. If you want to go offshore somewhere, it's maybe because you have a really good business idea and you got to go to Ireland to do it. Okay, great. Then do it for that. But don't take things you have here that are important to you and then move them into another country. That doesn't help you. And in fact, I've seen more problems created by doing that. So let's say, this is an example I always give. Let's say I have some cash, $50,000. And then I do stuff with it and maybe I make some money. Maybe I double my money. And so presumably I have a tax liability. So let's say I have $50,000 and I go to my brother we have no interest together. We don't file tax returns. We're not in business together. We don't have any contracts together, no liabilities together. He and I get together and we put our money on the table. I put my 50, he puts his 50. So then we take that 100 and we go do stuff with it. Maybe we buy cryptos, right? And we make some money in cryptos. And then we make like, let's say collectively, he and I make collectively, we double our money. So now we got $200,000. Where's the tax liability? I made money, didn't I? I made it in dollars. Where's my tax liability? I don't have it yet because my money's worth more now, but it's not mine. It's mine and my brother's. Same for my brother. It's not his. It's both of ours. So where's the liability? None. We just created a non-taxpayer by working together, by combining our money into one collective ownership. And my brother and I are not a taxpayer And no matter what profits we make, in fact, we could take that, he and I together, we could take that money and go make $1 million and go buy more stuff and invest it and make more money. And together, as long as we keep on doing that, we're never going to have a tax liability. If I take, and assume I have a tax liability individually, my brother does individually. If I take some of that money out, yeah, that becomes my taxable income. But as long as my brother and I own that money collectively, jointly and severally, okay, then it doesn't exist. And it's, in effect, it is offshore. It's outside the jurisdiction of the United States, put it that way, if that's what you're trying to do. That's my example of explaining offshore while not going offshore. You change the property rights, you then change the liability. Okay. And the way I express this very easily to make it, let's call it dummy proof, is use a limited liability company. Because my brother and I can do that, but we do need a written instrument. We do need some sort of partnership contract, and we're never going to have to file a tax return or whatever and deal with that written contract, but it should be that way to express the rights and liabilities there. But if my brother and I, we don't have any tax liability, right? But if together we filed a joint tax return, let's say we called it a partnership. Okay, now we would create a tax liability for the entire amount by filing. You see how that works? And I do that for everybody. Everybody that's, there's all kinds of ways to use that concept in managing financial risk and preventing financial loss. That's just the simple version of it. All right, does that help you with the offshore idea? We don't need to go offshore.
Yeah, stay right here. Jim, Shelby's asking, she says that received an email from the state, I guess Secretary of State, where the LLC is registered, and they're asking for my annual report. Is there an easy way to do this? ChatGPT?
Oh yeah, just go online and just register an annual report. All you're doing is taking the information from the articles and then saying, okay, here's the information from the articles that I gave you last year. Here it is again. Here's my fee. Oh yeah, we did change one thing. Here's the change, and done. That's all the articles are. That'll keep your company in good standing.
Well, is that the annual report is the same thing as the articles? Is that what you're saying?
The annual report is where you publish the articles once again with the Secretary of State.
All
That's
right.
what it wants. It's wanting the articles all over again to see if there's any changes.
All
Yeah.
right.
And
So they
then,
probably even have an option to say no changes. So this is
well, they want the whole thing. They just
Mm.
want you to give the articles again. I don't know. I don't think they make it that easy for you. Nastasia was asking about this. Can the state force one to file a 1040? So what's a 1040? We know what a 1040 is, right? It's a tax return. It's a balance sheet, but it's special. At the bottom, whoever signs it is doing so under penalty of perjury, right? That's a different world than just signing a piece of paper, right? This one is under penalty of perjury. So I ask you, what is penalty of perjury? Is that somebody's testimony? If you lie, are there criminal penalties? There could be, right? So yeah, heck yeah, it's important. It shocks the conscience, or what they call it. It's important, right? So because it's testimony, you guys should know this. Can the state, her question is, can the state force one to file a 1040?
They can't require you to testify, right?
Can anyone require you?
Not a judge, no.
No. Can anyone require you to wear
No duress.
other than what you want to wear to work today? No, no one can ever compel your testimony. This is the beauty of the way our laws are set up.
John?
Yep.
So just quickly, so with my friend in 2020, she has her own business, so she made 2 prepayments. And so she ultimately received from the enforcement department of the state that in order to make accounting for those prepayments, that she would have to file a 1040. Otherwise, they were going to do an assessment on her if she didn't.
The state was telling her to file a federal income tax return?
In order to complete the accounting for the state with the prepayments that she made. Yeah, that's the letter that she.
They're lying because the
Yeah,
state
okay.
is a foreign government, or the United States is a foreign government. So how can one government tell you have to interact with another government in order for this government to do its accounting? So what you do is you write back and say, no, you have a legal duty to perform the accounting function for which you're being paid with public funds, and you will do it. And it doesn't matter what I'm doing with another government. You don't have standing to impose this obligation on me. If you can't do the accounting, then I'm going to go to the inspector general's office and find out what you're doing with my damn money.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, you just gotta think of it
Yeah,
like
because I told
that
her, I
to
said, they
government.
owe you the accounting. I told her
Yeah.
that they owe you
And
the accounting.
the other thing
Yeah.
is, there, we can go on for a while on this one because you said assessment, right? So the duty to complete an assessment is upon the tax collector. And it's not contingent upon
Right.
you testifying to a foreign government. This is what you tell them. So if you have a statutory duty to finish a tax assessment before I have a tax liability. Now, I gave you advance payments in good faith, expecting you to do your job. Your job is to do the assessment. When you have the assessment, let me know so I can see how much I owe you. But I don't have an obligation to testify to a foreign government so that you can fulfill your obligation in the statute. Because if I go look at your obligation in the statute, it doesn't say it in there. Your statutory obligation
Right.
is not contingent upon me fulfilling some other duty that you just made up and pulled out of your butt. You just made that up.
Smells like butt.
Unfortunately, she ended up submitting it.
Well,
But
yeah,
I'll
I
let her
mean,
know.
she should be on this call
She
or
did it
whatever,
like
but
until 4 a.m. in the morning. She
I,
was
I use,
so,
I'm not trying to be gross, guys. I use that analogy. My daughter was struggling with some math, and it's of course of all things long division. So I'm helping her with the long division, and I'm showing her how to bring the zero down, right? And of course she's like this, you know. I make her sit up because it's a boring subject. I say, you got to sit up now. Come on. I know it's boring, but let's get through this. So I try to make her laugh, and I say, now we got to pull this zero down because it's got to be a placeholder. So where did I get the zero from? I'm trying to make her think. And she's like, I said, I pulled it out of my butt, then she starts laughing. So I got to get her to, sometimes it helps to laugh, because what
Mhm.
happens, your brain starts working differently. If you laugh, you start receiving new information more easily.
Mm.
All right, I'll get to you in a second, Karen. Let me just finish this. This is submit a form without signing and submitting. No, I would write him a letter back and say, here's the statute, or you can just, instead of, I'd be lazy, write him a letter back and say, which statute allows you to not do your job or do your job that is contingent upon me testifying to a foreign government. Show me the statute where you have a legal duty to provide the assessment, but it's contingent upon me testifying to a foreign government. Show me that statute.
And tell me 5 things you did last week that improved.
Exactly. Yes, I
Yes.
like that. Yes. So I don't know if you can get her before she tries to handle it, but Karen, what?
thank you.
I was just gonna comment on what you were saying, that there's such deep programming in the people out there
Yeah.
on, authority, about, CPAs are, I'm trying to explain your LLC strategy to a friend of mine that is getting ready to publish a book that she's very hopeful about, and she just can't get it. She just keeps going back to my CPA. And so anyway,
Yeah.
people have deep
It is
programs.
difficult to get out of this thinking of doing things. I'm there too. I'm a human being, and I have the same thing. But once you realize that that's what's happening, you can force your way out of it. You can train your way out of it. You can change your habits, and but you have to first realize that's what's happening. You're kind of stuck with what's comfortable, so you have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone. And Jim is talking about the AI does not know the rules for a 5-member
Will
group.
not do it. Will
Okay,
not
look.
do it.
Look, guys, come on. I've already done that. I've done it. Okay. I'm not smart. Okay. I'm not smart, but if you know how to, you got to communicate, right? So you got to tell the AI tell it what you're giving it. This is a document that summarizes the articles of a limited liability company. In this document is listed the sole owner of the limited liability company. He's called the managing member or the member. So what I would like you to do is revise this so that it adds one more member. Just do that and you'll get it. And then when it works, then revise it again, add 3 more.
Okay, now try adding 4 more members.
Yeah,
Or 3
you
more
can
members.
do it.
Yeah,
It all
it'll
comes back
work.
to, it's just like when I was writing code way back in the 80s. I shouldn't even say this, but way back in the 80s, I'm writing code and I realized that if I got crap results, it's because my code was crappy.
What is that phrase? Crap in, crap out?
Yeah, garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage in, garbage out.
I
Yeah.
realized that before
You have
that I
to,
heard
yeah,
that term.
feed it
I realized
nicely.
that I learned to write code on my own because my grandparents, the deal was I wanted to play video games and my grandparents said, we're not going to get you an Atari 400. We're going to get you a computer and you have to learn how to program it. Then you can play video games. So I did. I was very motivated. And so I
Oh.
realized that when I got crap results, it was because my code was wrong.
Mm.
So when you're working with the AI, it's no different. Even when you're talking to people, if you don't communicate effectively, you're just not going to get the thing you need,
Yeah.
So
Or
go
sometimes
back
they
and
don't
try.
understand a term you're using or a word, and like you
Yeah.
have to like break that down, and yeah.
I've
You have
had,
to
I've
prompt
had
it a bunch of times. You have to
change the
prompt it.
prompt.
Yeah.
I've had situations where I'm asking it to do something, and sometimes I get lazy and I just want it to do everything for me. And then I have to, like, instead of being frustrated, what I'll do is go do something else and come back later. Maybe I'll have a different way to say it.
I created a whole thing for cross-examining witnesses on falsification of government records. It sit there, you wouldn't believe what it spit out. I fed it the information and it
Did you
created the
give
whole
it the
thing.
rules and civil procedure?
Yes, everything. Internal
Ooh,
review manual,
nice.
everything. Hey,
Nice.
I think I missed part of your conversation a minute ago though, because nobody needs AI to add members to a LLC. I
Well,
don't.
I told him to do that because I don't feel like doing it. But
Right.
All you gotta do is go change the Articles of Association at the Secretary
Right.
of State
yeah, you could do it yourself in a little bit
or,
more time than
or
even.
organization, depending on which
Yeah.
state.
Or maybe you could just ask the question, how do you change? Yeah. How do you add how do you add
When I
members?
did it, John, when you first talked about having 5 members way back,
Yeah.
I did it immediately. Okay, so
Okay,
if you
cool.
screw up, here's what happens. The people at the Secretary of State will just simply
Mhm.
email you back and tell you what to do to make it right. They will
Yeah.
help you. They say, oh, you need to change this, and then we'll do it.
Mhm.
And I changed it, they
Mhm.
did it.
Yeah, perfect. That's
They
good to
help you.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Johnny's still stuck on going offshore. Well, okay. Find out why. Know why you want to go offshore. Do you want to go offshore to what? Acquire an asset, get into some business venture or vacation, or what do you want to go offshore? Do you want to move some property offshore? I don't know, maybe you have something you want to put into a vault in Singapore. And then find the thing that'll do it. First of all, find out what you're trying to do, and then find the tool that'll do it. If you just say going offshore, I don't know what are we talking about? Cash, banking. You're not going to move real estate offshore. You might move real estate securities offshore.
Mhm.
You're not
Hey,
moving-
John,
Yeah.
can you tell, there's been a question about this also. You said your son doesn't, your kids don't have SSNs and they open a bank account. What was the process for that? How did you do that?
Okay, on that one, we had to make up a social security card because that's the front end teller is going to accept that. She wanted a card. Sometimes they don't ask, but this one the last one I did wanted a card. So I had to go get like the template online. I just found one online and I just
Mhm.
put it in the draw program and we put the number of my son's credit file because he already had credit
Mhm.
with no SSN, and then he was able to open the account that way and it goes from there. The only problem with that is if he gets a backup withholding notice, they will do backup withholding. They'll take out some of the money, which is never going to happen. But the way to avoid that is you would just use a limited liability company. Same thing. Yeah. And then if you don't want to give up your biometric data, okay, that's why I did the security agreement on the biometric data, because there are some situations where you have to give it. I'm sorry, you just have to give it. Ooh. So put a lien on it. If you give it, put terms on the disclosure of it. That's all I can tell you, because if you don't give up your biometric data, they're not going to do business with you. That's just our new society, because most people think it's okay. And so we kind of voted for that. So now here we are. It's going to get worse.
Kind of voted for that, huh?
That's why we need to put liens on the data and make them liable for it. And that makes our own terms instead of waiting for the state to write a law.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Coinbase is the SEC. Yeah. Manage any report. Okay, Kraken, cryptos, trading. I don't know about managing reports. I just know that if you're talking about the Go Baby Trade API, that's pretty cool. The API lets you interact with your exchange. That's way better than going to Coinbase's interface, I think. So if you if you personally sell crypto for dollars, that's when you say yes to that question. All right. The question is, did you purchase cryptos? If you took crypto coins, and bought someone else's crypto coins, that is a purchase of crypto coins. If you used your dollars to do so, that is not a purchase. If you sold your coins for dollars, that's a disposition of property. That's just income. All right. Send a Telegram link to Ace of Coins group, Ace something group.
Oh, I kind of already handled that in the chat
You
another
did?
way.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah. All right. And then what if you move your coins from wallet to Coinbase and the same coin and then buy? Yeah, you can do that. No, going from coin to coin, wallet to wallet, that doesn't create a tax liability. Remember, what's being taxed? Dollars. Is there a choice to tax anything but dollars? Not yet. No. If the government declares and maybe makes it might be have to be an act of Congress, I don't know, to declare that a cryptographic currency is a legal tender, then it's going to fall in the same paradigm as the US dollar. So it comes down to this, like I always say, if you can pay the tax in the thing, then it's taxable. So if Bitcoin is taxable, then you have to be able to pay the tax in Bitcoin. Otherwise, it's not taxable because you're not required to dispose of property in order to pay a tax on something else. No one can ever require you to do that. So if you made a lot of money in, let's call it made a lot of money in Bitcoin, let's say your Bitcoin's worth 10 times more, you're not required to sell it to pay dollars. So that's the definition of it's not taxable. If you did that in dollars, it is.
You can only
Hey,
pay
John.
tax into private script under Title 12 banking, Federal
Okay.
Reserve notes.
Yeah.
There's someone who's asking a few questions that are like kind of like beginner, like trying to understand how to use an LLC bank account, how do they use their money from it. Where can you point them to where they would go
I
to
just
just kind of
published a
get
video
your
on, let me give you the one I just did on CloutHub. I just published this one. I'm trying to learn how to use CloutHub. Let's see if I can do a share thingy then. Oh, here it is. Copy the link. All right, so if you look on CloutHub, I think this video I published, which came out a while back, this one may answer your question. I'm just gonna publish this to everybody. I'll put more videos up there. I mean, some of these you've already seen probably. I'm just trying to fill up the spot because I wanna do more with that platform. So right now I'm just populating the video section.
yeah, then this would give them a beginning understanding of how it all works and
I don't have a
then
conference set up
go-
yet because I have to focus marketing on that. I haven't done that yet, but I would like to do it soon. So that would be kind of fun. I want to have a lot of people there though. I don't want to have like 20. I want to have like 200.
Is that
Mhm.
the thing that you put in Ace of Coins today? That's the site?
For what?
Cloud Hub. Is that
Yeah,
the
CloutHub. Right.
this is the same link?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's the one video I just had that might answer your question, that gentleman's question over there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. If you use your business income like an LLC, let's say the LLC is not reporting income for tax purposes. And so you're using it though, you're taking some money out and you're paying for personal things. That's just your income. That's just other income. You should report that. No one can see it unless you're audited, but still you should report it. Okay. Still have to keep the personal expenses separate. I like to keep my personal expenses separate. I mean, there's all kinds of ways of doing it. I don't know if I can get into that. You have to be more specific. But official, yeah, all right. So I think that's everybody. But anyways, so I didn't have too much technical things today, but it's an interesting discussion. Just realize that, the IRS, I like the idea of the, what's it called? The External Revenue Service. I just love it. It's just, Trump has a great sense of humor for that. I mean, he's always
He's
calling people.
about it. He's dead serious about it.
Yeah.
He do it.
He's always provoking the people that oppose him. It's just funny.
Yeah, like Canada's going to be the 51st state. I have a friend who's really pissed.
Well, it is very possible, and same for Greenland. I don't know if it would be in anytime soon, but Greenland would be at least have a treaty with it.
They'd
That-
probably be a whole lot better off.
I think it's almost a sovereign nation if it isn't already. It's about to be because they just had some sort of vote or something. There's
th-
now the conservative party is 84% of the population now, I think.
They voted to separate from Denmark, is what they
Okay.
did.
All right.
And
Well,
then they
yeah.
might follow that up with something else.
200 people is an arbitrary number, but I figure that's 200 people is good where I can still interact with plenty of people. That's how I look at it. I mean, if it's 1,000, all that means is I make more money. Okay. But I do like to have fun. So, and 200 people would be probably pretty fun. All right. Ray, man, I'm gonna have to get some consulting with you. You're out there. You're like some kind of wizard now by now. But
Yeah. Oh, I've been studying that stuff for a long time, all about the IRS and everything. Yeah.
you took your knowledge and now
I tell you what, here's the thing too, like on the 1040s, 1545-0074, that's the OMB number you talk about. It's for reporting foreign earned income. See,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
we're supposed to be filing a 2555 with the 1040 as attachment for foreign earned income. So they've got everything
Sure.
screwed
Yeah.
up.
Twisted up on purpose.
Twisted up, just like W-2s or gift tax.
Look, you cannot argue with Satan.
Mm-mm.
You have to just not argue with him.
Just walk softly and carry a big
You're
stick.
always gonna lose, even if you're right.
Yeah, you don't argue, you just have to, you have to just
You
pin
have
them
to-
down.
Yeah. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. So
It really comes down, and that's where it takes the court and the federal rules of civil procedure, because they're not going to listen until it gets to that point, really. I mean,
yeah.
administrative. Well,
You
unless
always
you,
have to be so diligent. It's just like you're so diligent in your case, Ray, that the judge acknowledged it and said, "Hey, I'm not gonna let you slide on this one. I'm gonna treat you like Judge A." And Ray's complaining. Sorry, Ray, but
you
Damn
know what? And I went and created that motion for reconsideration. Now I used AI, and I also created a motion for explanation to put it on the judge. But I don't know. It's just my nature to say, when he says you can't do something, I'm like, no, I want to do it.
Look,
So
sometimes judges want to do the right thing, and you always have this perception. I have this perception that I'm biased. Like they always think they're evil, they're evil, they're evil. No, maybe he likes what you're doing, and he wants to be the judge, and he wants to decide the matter. Let him. It's okay. Don't argue with him. Let him. There's other arguments you can make that are more important arguments to make, right? Admissibility. When you get into the trial, admissibility, right?
Right.
So after
right.
that 45, 49 and all the nonsense, the facts reports, okay? So the self-authentication crap, those are important arguments you want to have with the judge.
Right. See, because they can't produce the assessment like you share with everybody, John, because the only assessment statute is 6201 and it's stamp tax. So that they can't provide it for the income tax.
Yeah, and that's a statute. That's not even a reg. So Congress didn't even tell them to make an assessment. I mean, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. So, all right. Well, that's it for me. I'm gonna head off and
But it is stressful.
start my weekend. What?
I see that it is stressful going through it. I feel like I'm in uncharted waters.
It is, but as you know, being very athletic, you know that there's a period of time where you go through the stress and you're better for it. And you don't have to keep on doing it. It's okay. You'll have the bragging rights afterwards.
I'm being molded for
You
something
are.
bigger. I'm being molded for something bigger, I guess.
I hope that you can take all your work and maybe put together some sort of maybe feed it to the AI and build some sort of scenario and explain to people what the whole thing is, because that's a really great example of how corrupt our system is.
It can. Okay, so I created an account with the ChatGPT. As I ask it all these questions all through these months, it has somehow retained all that so that when I ask it to create a motion, say, for example, for reconsideration, it compiles all that from what I've asked in the past if I didn't delete it.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I wonder sometimes when it doesn't do that, I wonder if it's still collecting that data. I think it's needing us to interact with it to collect more data for the future.
I think so.
Yeah, that's how we think.
Well, it's like Ed said. It's like Ed said on what's Ed's name with Go Baby Crypto, Ed Barsano.
The programmer, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he said, because he was talking about the AI really can't think or nothing. It's counting on us to feed it data to be able to compile it.
Yeah, it's past the Turing test, that's for sure.
And I do believe it is a little skewed on giving the right answers on some of the stuff I ask it, being politically correct, if you want to call it that.
For sure.
You do have to teach it on the spot. I'm not going to I don't have a class scheduled this Saturday. We have 3. Each of you should have received a video from Jim about how to get your user ID and log in and check out the 3 videos I did on Saturday, last 3 Saturdays. I'm not going to do another one now. I'm happy to do another one when I start seeing some case numbers from y'all. I would like to see, if you want, some pleadings. Somebody write up a case and show me. I've got some cooking right now. I've got 2. I'll be filing one pretty soon.
John,
But show me.
sent us a video Where?
I did a video on an example of the False Claims Act pleading.
Okay, is that
So-
in time or did he email it to us? Because I didn't.
That will be with the videos.
He
But
emailed it to you.
yeah, maybe he did, but I already
Mhm.
closed it. Yeah, Jim's asking for a email address.
Oh, for me?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll put it in right now.
somebody is, but anyways, yeah. We have it somewhere probably, but anyways, he has all the email addresses and names and whatnot. So, but yeah, I'm not gonna do anything yet until some cases are developed. If you guys have written a pleading, let me look at it. All right. And I'm happy to do that. I'm gonna see what fight you picked. So,
Fight Club.
yeah. All right, got it here. Thanks, Heather. Thanks, Elaine. We got it.
Thank you.
All right, you guys enjoy your weekend. See
Yeah,
you.
Yeah, have a great weekend.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Enjoy it. Thank you. Great call.